Yeah, Shabbat Shalom. We welcome you all to this magnificent occasion of Max's Bar Mitzvah, and we're going to get you all warmed up to pray and celebrate with the singing of this nigun, which is a wordless melody, so nobody has any excuses for not singing because there are no words. So here we go. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la. That was Cantor Lisa Siegel, and I am Rabbi Gail Pomerantz, and we are so happy, smiling under these masks, to share this occasion with you. So just a little bit of business. Please take a moment to make sure that your cell phones are on silent so that we don't interrupt the sacredness of this occasion. We also want to take a moment to welcome all of you who are live streaming or Zooming in. We are, in a sense, suspending our disbelief. It's as if we are all together in this sanctuary. We feel you here with us, and we will pray together as one community. So it is our custom for our bar mitzvah to lead us in prayer. So I'm going to invite Moshe to the pulpit, and also invite you all to open your prayer books to page 220. For the chanting of Ashrei.
We chant the Ashrei responsively. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yahalucha Sela.
Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav.
Tehila leDavid, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, Va'avarcha Shimcha le'olam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarcheka, v'ala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai umhulal me'od, ve'ligdulato ein cheker.
Dor ledor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvurotecha yagidu.
Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei nifleotecha asicha.
Ve'zuznotecha yomeru, u'gdolatecha asaprena.
Zecher rav tuvecha yabiu, ve'tzid katecha yeranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim ugdol chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, ve'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvuratecha yedaberu.
Lehodia lifnei hadam gevorotav, uchvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלה בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך, ומסביר לכוחי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוריו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
Please turn to page 224 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יפרח גבורתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בהגלה בהגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקדושה, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ויאמרו אמן.
Max, Moshe, this is the moment that you are going to receive this talit from your parents' loving hands. And you know the significance of the talit is actually in the fringes, the four corners, which are supposed to remind you of your obligations to live a righteous and good life now that you are becoming a young man, a young adult. You know, our tradition says that up until this age, all of your misdeeds, of which I'm sure there are not many, fall on your parents' shoulders, but from this time forward, they fall on your shoulders. Now, I was also thinking about what I wanted to say to you here, and one of the things that struck me is in each of these tzitzit, there are 10 knots, at least 10 knots. And this is also symbolic of what are you bound to, what are you tied to in your life. And I know you are tied to your learning, I know you are tied to your tradition, which brings you here today, and I know how deeply you are tied to your family and how much your family means to you and how much you mean to them. So when you wear this talit, I hope you always feel the love that your parents feel in their hearts as they're giving it to you, and I hope you also feel embraced by God. And so I call up your parents to present you with this talit. And now, Max, you'll say the prayer that's said before wearing a talit.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lihitatef batzitzit.
Amen. And now you'll wrap the talit around Max's broad shoulders, and you can give him a hug. And I'll invite you all to face your loved ones and put your arms around each other as we sing the Shehecheyanu, thanking God for enabling you to reach this day. Christina.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
So Max is about to blow your minds. He's shockingly good at this, which is funny because making Max perform in front of an audience is almost the meanest thing you can do to him. Christina and I, we tried it once before. He had this crippling stage fright, and we decided he had to deal with it. So we made him try out for the school musical, Peter Pan. He was in 4th grade, and he was totally anguished. Please, Mommy, Daddy, don't make me do it. We said, you only have to do it once, but you have to do it. You know, you'll be a pirate or a lost boy or whatever, so you'll see, it's not such a big deal. And Max tried out, and of course they cast him as Peter Pan. And again, totally anguished. No, please, Mommy, Daddy, don't make me do it. But he worked so hard, just like he did for his bar mitzvah, and we're biased, but he was pretty brilliant. Afterwards, the director came up to us and said, that was our best show ever. Max, you were incredible. He's going to be the star of all our shows. And yet again, Max was completely distraught. Mommy, Daddy, you said I only had to do this once. It was his big heroic moment. The kids in his class were chanting, Max, Max, Max. And he was completely mortified. He turned to us and asked, can we go home now? And that was the last time he sang in public before today. I said that making Max perform in front of an audience is almost the meanest thing you can do to him. The meanest thing is to praise him in front of an audience. And we're mean parents. So Max, the next few minutes are going to be excruciating. And Mommy's going to be even worse. I'm kind of tempted just to start it off with another chant of Max, 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 except I'm pretty sure he'd make us take him home again. I don't want that. Anyway, Max, I apologize, but you're a mensch. You're not only the smartest person I know, you're the sweetest person I know. And you're so kind and loving, and you're so uniquely you. You don't judge the boys who play football and Fortnite, but you're going to read your books and create your worlds and invent your languages. I've got a little theme song I trot out whenever Max says something super Max. You know, like crab apples should be shortened to crapples, or jumbo blueberries should be jewberries. But it's like takeoff from the Rum Tum Tugger song. I would say, the Max D. Grunwald is a curious cat. And it's true, you're an American original. And it is ridiculously rewarding to have a courtside seat for your life. You give me all the joys of parenthood, the wow, he really gets it, and the wow, I never thought of that. And so far, you've forgotten to give me the headaches and the heartburns. And you've given your mama bear some, because she's in charge of dealing with the teachers who don't get you and making sure you don't forget to brush your teeth. But for me, you've been all upside. I feel like I've done my best to screw you up with bad parenting, but you're still pure and warm and hilarious. I think I'm kidding. Here's my worst parenting story. And I mean, it's bad. This is even worse than the time Max fell off the monkey bars and broke his arm, and I told him he was fine, just wash it off. This time Max was 5, and I saw him chewing something in a kind of sneaky way. So I asked him what he was eating. He said, a grape, which would have been a perfectly legitimate answer if there hadn't been chocolate all over his face. I said, oh, really, Max? So what'd you say you were eating? A grape. Huh. I had never seen this kid lie before. And this was such a brazen lie. It was like, no, that is certainly not my hand in the cookie jar. So I said, Max, this is unacceptable. I need to be able to trust you. And the tears start to flow. Daddy, it was a grape. Oh man, you're gonna stick with your story, chocolate face? All right, time for a teachable moment. We're gonna set an honesty precedent early. And I just let him have it. This was the first time ever. Max, in this family, we tell the truth. And Max was so upset, he literally started hyperventilating. Daddy, it was a grape. I'm in full disappointed dad mode. Max Dominguez Grunwald, I have been very patient with you, but wait, what did you say? It was a grape. Oh, a crepe. Oh man. So that was my traumatic teachable moment. As usual, I was the one who got schooled. And the lesson was, Max is a good boy. If you think he's the problem, you're probably the problem. I used to get him out of bed for school by counting from 10 down to 0. And even though Max is definitely not a morning person, I never once made it to 0 before he got out of bed. I'm honestly not sure what I would have done if he ever refused. It never even occurred to me that he might refuse. He's that obedient, he's that responsible, and he's that considerate. There are a million reasons that we're sad that we can't all be here together for Max's bar mitzvah. But one reason is that I'd always looked forward to our cousin Steve Lamb giving his trademark roots and wings speech that he gave at my bar mitzvah. I won't do it justice, but it's really a tribute to parents, which would have been fun for Christina and me. But it's about how their job is to give kids roots and to give them wings. Well, Max has natural roots. He's always been so family-oriented. It's so heartwarming to watch him volunteer to play dominoes with Papa or tennis with Uma. And he's always been exceptionally Jewish. I mean, come on, it's the people of the book. I shouldn't stereotype, but he's got that innate Jewish love of learning where he gets giddy about graphing polynomials, and that innate Jewish tendency to question everything, which unfortunately forces parents to come up with better answers than because I said so. But we've tried to reinforce those roots. This is a fun party trick that I burned into our kids' brains when they were going to an Episcopal school. Ready? We're Jewish. Yeah, love that. I just never want them to forget that, and I know that Max won't. But Max has natural wings too. You can see this in this 5-second clip. This is Max at 7. Let's see if we can put it up on the Zoom here. Here we go. There he goes. Obviously not literal wings, but he has an instinct for adventure that he got from his mom, who used to jump out of airplanes. And this is one of my favorite things about Max. He's an enthusiast. He's a jumper-inner. He gets interested in black holes or square roots or whatever, and he learns everything there is to know about them. He really is a curious cat. He came out of the womb looking around like, this is intriguing. I need to read up on this. And the coolest thing about Max is his absolute Maxness. He is who he is, and he doesn't care if other people think he's cool. So my wish for Max, as he transitions from obedient boy Max to independent man Max, is that he holds on to every bit of that Maxness. I want to watch him fly. I worry that the world is going to try to clip his wings. I worry that sometimes I've clipped his wings. I never showed much interest in black holes. I never tried to learn Nakta Schnell, which is the language he invented. I have no clue what he means by uvular stop or any of his other linguistic stuff. And I'm afraid that Max has absorbed some of my neuroses, which is also very Jewish. A couple years ago, our family did some crazy bungee off a cliff thing, and Lena and Christina just did it. Max and I were less enthusiastic. And that's okay. You don't have to be a daredevil. Jumping off cliffs is dumb anyway. But I do want you to be a jumper-inner. I want you to pursue your quirky passions. You'll probably end up spending more time than you like in the spotlight, and you'll definitely have to endure a lot of people praising you. But you are going to do beautiful things on this earth. Most of all, we want you to know that we're Team Max. We support you in all your Super Max glory. Even if you become the kind of teenager who refuses to get out of bed before I count down to 0, even if you start lying about the chocolate smeared across your face, we know your heart and we're on your side. Really, our job was never to give you roots or wings or moral conscience or compassion. You've always had that. You were born with that. Our job, the best job we've ever had, is to enjoy the show and have your back and remind you that netra ke icha zorkta. That's we love you in Naktash now.
Oh boy, it's my turn. Okay. Yeah, you're in it with me. All right, in these moments, in these important life moments, we reflect on the past and appreciate the present. Mike beautifully and accurately painted a picture of an amazing kid who we adore. But life with Max has not always been a piece of cake, and all of you here have been on this journey with us. From the beginning, it was clear that we, 1, had something different on our hands, 2, the outside world was not always going to get him, and 3, Max was going to be Max no matter what. Max was 10 days late for his own birthday and came out the wrong way, face first. Many hours and very large forceps later, a wide-eyed baby with a weirdly strong neck who wouldn't stop looking all around emerged. I thought this was normal until my Puerto Rican mother came into the room, and upon seeing this ET-type newborn declared in her usual understated way, "He's a genius!" My cute, weird baby became a cute, weird toddler, and other people outside of my family began pointing out some of his differences. The first call came when Max was 2 years old, and the principal of Temple Beth Shmuel summoned me to the school. She sat me down across her big desk and said, "Max escaped from the classroom and was caught reading the names of the kids on their cubbies." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry he escaped." She shook her head and said, "No, that's not the problem. I've never seen a 24-month-old in diapers teach himself to read." Mike and I laughed that episode off, but as he entered elementary school, his obsession with reading kept growing, and the calls kept coming. In first grade, the school counselor called me because she was very concerned that Max did not want to ride the rides at the school carnival and preferred to sit on the bench and read. She suggested I ban him from reading books during recess. In second grade, Max wrote his first book called Why I Hate My Teacher. This really happened, where he included pictures of himself making unhappy faces and very descriptive examples of how and why second grade was just not working for him. Unbeknownst to me, he emailed this book to the principal of the school. The next morning at drop-off, I was swiftly summoned to the office. His fifth grade teacher confiscated his books during lunch, and she scolded me, saying he should be socializing. His science teacher called me because Max corrected her statement that there are a million stars in the skies, with there are actually billions and billions of stars in the sky. She found this to be very disrespectful. A math teacher kicked him out of class and sent him straight to the principal's office because he correctly identified that she was teaching the concept of variables incorrectly and confusing his classmates. This all makes him sound like a know-it-all, but the truth was he's always been wiser than his years, and his little 10-year-old body did not match his college-level brain. I could go on and on about the monthly emails and calls I received due to Max's constant reading, educational frustrations, and disconnect between his interests and that of his peers. But from the very beginning, I always got him. His passion for reading and learning were so clear. He knew what he loved, and nothing was going to stop him. I knew my job was to clear the path so he could be him. I fought really hard to give him a safe space to move that strong neck and allow those big white eyes to soak up all the information and knowledge he was hungry for. Fortunately, he's now surrounded by brilliant friends, an amazing school, amazing teachers who get him and challenge him in all the right ways. But Max is so much more than his big brain and big curly hair. He has the biggest, purest heart that I know. And from this heart level is where we really connect. Every day when he comes home from school, he asks me with deep love and authenticity, "So how are you today?" Or "Did you have a good day?" He sees me running around or a little stressed, and he earnestly asks, "Can I do anything to help you?" He is highly aware of my emotional state and does all that he can to alleviate life's burdens on me. He never wants people to go out of their way for him. And I often catch him, Max and Gloria, our home helper, playing tug-of-war with his plate because he insists on washing it and she insists on washing it for him. He patiently helps Lena with her schoolwork, and anytime I get angry at her, he stops me, defends her, and then later tells me in private, "I think you're a little too hard on Lena." He always compliments his sister, and he highlights her strengths. The relationship is something that Mike and I often marvel at. The other day, Max looked at Mike out of the blue, and he said, "I'm so lucky I get to live with you." We looked at him quizzically, and he continued, "I'm so lucky I get to live with such an amazing writer." Max really sees the best qualities in us and shows us with his words, thoughts, and actions how much he loves and appreciates us. Max, I'm so lucky I get to live with you. I'm so lucky that I've been chosen to be your mom and get to live in your orbit. You've always been so clear about your path and your passions that my hope for you today and every day is to keep doing exactly what you're doing. And I will keep providing you with unlimited Amazon books, tons of love and protection for all things Max. People who know me know that I end all my text messages with a rainbow emoji. Max, you are the rainbow of my life. Oh, here.
Thank you. I was told I should write a short speech about my brother Max. So, Max is in fact my brother. Okay, I guess I should say a bit more about Max. Can we all agree that he's weird? Actually, that's one of the reasons why Max and I are so close. When I'm with Max, it's never weird to be weird because he's even weirder. Max can somehow out-weird me, and trust me, it's not easy to out-weird me. He invents words like poppysackle for popsicle and bagels for bagel. He talks about his weird language stuff, like the epiglottical stops, and the kind of stuff, I don't know. He goes on about his math too, like the x to the power of y and that. But even though Max will bore me for hours about his math equations, he'll also help me with my math homework or anything else I need help with. In fact, he offered to help me write nice things about him in this speech. Seriously, he also gave me homework assignments over the summer, which was incredibly annoying. Honestly though, Max and I tease each other a lot. He is very positive and reassuring with me, and we have a lot of fun together. Even when we go away to camp, we make a point of having lunch together every day. To finish up, it probably would have been enough to say, Max is my brother. What if I say, Max is a pretty good brother? Mazel tov, bro.
Let's leave this out for your sister, okay? So next, go ahead and announce that, okay?
We turn to page 226 and rise for the Amidah.
Okay, Max, let's put this down. Take the binder and face the up. Let me just do some. I'll just do this. This will fall. Okay.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu Ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Velohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Velohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Vehanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Geula Livnei Vneihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verovech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechaye Umatmiach Yeshua Vene'eman Ata Lehachayot HaKol Baruch Ata Adonai Mechayei HaKol. We remain standing for the Kedusha on page 232.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 מלוך כל הארץ כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו אדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו אחד הוא אלוהינו אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהייך ציון לדור.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור,
לדור נגיד תוד לך. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור נגיד תוד לך.
נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, לשבחך אלוהים
greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated.
We continue with our Avodah prayer, whereby we ask that God accept our prayers. We are on page 236, 237, and with these two leading our Ritzeh, we know that God will accept our beautiful prayers. Ritzeh.
Adonai Eloheinu, be'amha Yisrael. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, be'amha Yisrael. Utefilatam, Utefilatam, ve'ahavat tekabel. Utefilatam, ve'ahavat tekabel. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, be'amcha Yisrael. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, be'amcha Yisrael. Utehi leratzon tamid avodai, Yisrael amecha. Utehi leratzon tamid avodai, Yisrael amecha. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, be'amcha Yisrael. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, be'amcha Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadecha ve'yira navo.
Be'amcha Yisrael.
Do you want- We're going to take some time now for some additional prayers. The Birkat Shalom, our prayers for peace, peace for Israel, peace for our world, Shalom Rav, which can be found on page 240 of your Siddur. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amachad, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amachad, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amachad, Tasim le'olam. We take a few moments for the prayers of our own hearts. Max, at our last rehearsal this week, I shared with you how fitting it felt for you to be chanting the very first portion of Leviticus, Vayikra. It's the only time we hear that phrase in the Torah that God calls to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher. Today, God is calling you, Moshe, albeit a different Moshe, to continue to offer the great gifts of your big heart to this world. Like the word for sacrifice, korban, which means to draw near, may the words of Torah continue to draw you closer to your faith and your tradition. Today is the day that you take your place. Taking your place in an adoring line. This is the day that you stand up to say, our tradition is mine. You will now read the Torah. It's been passed on to you. It's our law and our story, but each telling is new. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. Taking your place in a resilient line. This is the day that you stand up to say, our tradition is mine. You will now hold the Torah, forge a link to the past. You're the face of our future and the reason we last. Lahalechet biracha v'lishmor mitzvotav kol hayamim. May you walk in God's ways, and may all of your days be blessings. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer.
We now are going to begin Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah, which is in fact the main event when Max will be called up for his very first Aliyah, his Bar Mitzvah Aliyah. And I'm going to invite you to turn to page 246 in your prayer books if you'd like to follow along. And at the same time, I'm going to call your attention to this wonderful picture with Max's sweet, handsome Punim, his face on the front cover. And on the back side are all of the honors that are at this point in the service. You can take a look at that. Page 246.
Ki betzion tetzet
Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadol Adonai Iti Uneromema Shemo Yachdav.
Max, Moshe, this is the Torah, Israel's Morashah, Israel's sacred heritage and our inheritance. Wherever the Jewish people has been, the Torah has been with us, guiding us, teaching us, sustaining us, helping us to be the best we can be. As your father said to you earlier, we are the people of the book. And this is the Ur text. This is the book from which all other books flow. And this is the day that you realize that the Torah was written for you. In fact, your name, Moshe, is written throughout the Torah. You are all through this text, and I hope that you know that it was written for you. You know, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, who was the chief rabbi of England, said that we only pass down to our children what we ourselves love. And so this text, this Torah, has been passed down from generation to generation so that you would receive it here today. And symbolic of that chain of tradition, I'm going to call forward your great-grandmother, your grandparents, and your parents to give you this Torah.
We are gifts and we are blessing. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'dor vador nagid god lecha. L'dor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name. L'dor vador nagid god lecha. L'dor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name. L'dor vador nagid god lecha. L'dor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahor ki chol b'shamayim uva'aretz לך אדוני המון ואני are they there? כל
No. Mike said they were all going to be seen. He said they were all going to be seen. Yeah, but first is his speech. Oh, okay. Got it. You may all be seated.
Parshat Vayikra is about sacrifices, the literal sacrifices the Israelites made while they were wandering for 40 years from Egypt to the Promised Land. We are going through a time of less literal sacrifice now, and none of us are having much fun. We associate these sacrifices with pain and tragedy, but I think that there is a message of hope we can take out of both the Parsha and out of the pandemic itself. Walking hundreds of miles in a burning, arid desert probably wasn't fun either. It would be easy to forget about all the good things that had happened to them. This Parsha is the first chapter of Leviticus, right after the book of Exodus, the story of their escape from slavery in Egypt. So even during this difficult journey, the Israelites gave sacrifices to God to show their gratitude for their freedom. The sacrifices were also a symbol of hope. It would be easy to lose confidence that you would ever get to your destination on year 40 of a journey that would today take less than an hour and a half. By sacrificing, they were saying we will get there, and when we do, we'll have so many cows and chickens, we'll be able to fill a tabernacle with them. It can kind of feel like we're wandering through a desert right now. We can't see our friends from closer than 6 feet away, and we have to wear a mask whenever we go outside. We have been making sacrifices through this entire pandemic, and these too are reminders of what we have and reminders that things will get better. We have so much to be thankful for. For example, we still have our families. They might grate on our nerves a little, or a lot, but we still have to remember that we have them in these difficult times. I'm grateful for my father for being a pillar, keeping me grounded and in perspective. I'm grateful for my mother for being a shoulder to cry on, the kind of person who waits patiently while I talk about the annoying teachers at school. My grandmother on my father's side is fun to play tennis with and just to be around, and I have great conversations with my grandfather. On my mother's side, my grandfather always has a smile, and my grandfather always has a story. I'm even privileged enough to have my great-grandmother here. In addition to her awe-inspiring cakes and cookies, she also has a great heart. And I guess my sister has her moments too. I'm grateful I have them with me as we all make these sacrifices in hope of a better world. In fact, things are already getting better. With a vaccine quickly being distributed among the citizens of America, things are looking up that the coronavirus will fade from extreme prominence into memory as quickly and thoroughly as Hurricane Dorian. My grandparents all have the vaccine. In fact, they're here with me right now. So at heart, what we should take away from this Parsha is that even though it seems like we're just giving and not getting anything back, we really are. We have family and friends that we take for granted. So every time you feel like you're just giving, giving, and giving, remember what you have already, and remember that things will get better if we just hold on. Shabbat Shalom.
Keep it off. So thank you for that beautiful speech, Max. We are going to be reading from the Torah now, so you can put your prayer books away if you wish to, and take out the big, thick Torah commentaries if you'd like to follow along when Max chants from the Torah. You've already heard from Max that he is going to be chanting from the third book of the Torah, known as Leviticus or Vayikra in Hebrew. And you can follow along on page 660, chapter 1, verse 1. And he is going to be calling up his aliyot to join him up here on the bima.
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah harishona. For the first aliyah, I would like to call up my great-grandmother, Carmen Garcia, and my grandparents, Carmen Dominguez, Humberto Dominguez, and Doris and Hans Grunwald, to the Torah.
Whoa, careful all the banners. Who's going to recite the blessing?
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikra el Moshe, Vaydaber Adonai elav meohel moed leimor. Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem Adam. Ki yakriv mikem korban ladonai min habehema min habakar umin hatzon takrivu et korbanchem imola korbano min habakar stachar tamim yakrivenu El petach ohel moed yakriv oto lirtzono lifnei Adonai.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Yasher Koach, Yasher Koach. Thank you so much. We're going to actually bring you down, I think, right?
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah hashniya. For the second Aliyah, I would like to call up my aunt and uncle, my Len and Phil Arlen, and my cousin, Sophia Arlen, my aunt and uncle, Judy and Steve Kleinstein, and my cousins, Ali Kleinstein, Zachary Kleinstein, and Jacob Kleinstein, and my uncle and aunt, David Grunwald and Ruchira Shah, and my cousins, Priya Grunwald and Ranu Grunwald, to the Torah.
So who's going to chant? Who's chanting here? Somebody's chanting. Who's doing the blessing? Just let's wait a second. We got to get everyone together. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm going to count to 3, so we're all together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Baruch
Adonai
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'samach yado al rosh haolah v'nirtza lo lechaper alav v'shachat et ben habakar lifnei Adonai v'hikrivu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et hadam v'zareku et hadam al hamizbeach saviv asher petach ohel moed v'hivshit et haolah v'nitach ota lintacheha.
Blessing after everyone.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Natan B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Wish him a mazel tov. I think they're gone. Max thanks all the people online.
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah ha'shlishit. Avi Michael ben Yochanan u Devora. For the third aliyah, I would like to call up my parents, Christina Dominguez and Michael Grunwald, and my sister, Lena Dominguez Grunwald, to the Torah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Ganatanu b'nei Aharon hakohen esh al hamizbeach ve'arechu etzim al ha'esh ve'arechu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et hanetachim et harosh ve'et hapader al ha'etzim asher al ha'esh asher al hamizbeach v'kirbo uchra'av yirchatz b'mayim v'iktir hakohen et hakol hamizbecha olah Ishe reach nichoach ladonai.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Hey, give him a hug and a kiss.
Okay, mazel tov on that amazing chanting, Max. You are awesome. For this final aliyah, it's called the maftir, and we're going to turn in our commentaries, our Torahs, to page 673 if you're following along. Chapter 5, verse 24. This is Max's bar mitzvah, aliyah, where he is called to the Torah, and it's our custom to read it from the Sephardic scroll in the Ark. So I invite you to please rise.
Ya'amod habachur bar hamitzvah va'aliyat haTorah Moshe ben Michael chazak
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Sorry. Mikol asher yishava alav la sheker v'shilam oto berosho v'chamishitav Yosef alav la asher hu lo yitenenu beyom ashmato Vet ashamo yavi ladonai ayil tamim min hatzon berkecha leasham el hakohen v'chiper alav hakohen lifnei Adonai v'nislach lo al achat mikol asher yaseh leashmava. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
You may all be seated.
The Haftarah for Shabbat Vayikra can be found on page 682. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar binvi'im tovim veratza v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher batorah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Amzu yatzarti li tehilati yesaperu velo oti karata Yaakov ki agata bi Yisrael. Our Haftarah continues towards the end at chapter 44, verse 23. Ronu shamayim ki asa Adonai hariu tachtiyot aretz pitchu harim rina ya'ar v'chol eitz bo ki ga'al Adonai Yaakov U'Yisrael yitpa'ar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sur kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh hamdaber u'mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha lechavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach U'varachim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruchu u'baruch shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Max, wow, that was awesome. Your chanting was incredible. I know you hate this. Your father's already said how much you hate it. But it was really just, I'm really in awe. And if Cantor Siegel ever has to go on vacation, I know who I'm going to call because your chanting is amazing. So there's so many things I want to say to you. First of all, I want to say, okay, Max has like a foot on me height-wise, but I have a few inches on you hair-wise. And I want to say that it's really a thrill to see how you've grown up from this brilliant little tyke who I once knew to this brilliant young man. And the service today, you chanted about offerings and sacrifices in your Torah portion. Today you made this beautiful offering to your friends, your family, your congregation. It was pure, sweet, and it was so Max. And I hope that you always bring your best self, your best offering to everything you do. So, your Torah portion opens with that word Vayikra, right? So Adam, will you put that up on the screen? So there's something very special about that first word in his Torah portion. And I know he asked about it. Let's see, can I use the yad for a second? So if everybody can see, that first aleph is tiny, right? So, here, got it back. So the first word, Vayikra, and in any Torah you look at, the aleph, which is the last letter of the word, is small. Now this could be a scribal error, but it could be on purpose. And the rabbis have a lot of conversation about the meaning of this, and I know you asked Cantor Siegel about the meaning of it, and she said, I'm not going to tell you because Rabbi Pomerantz wants to tell you. And the reason why I wanted to tell you is because it really encapsulates Max. The rabbis say that when God called to Moses, that the little aleph represents Moshe in his humility, that he was so humble that he was small before God. You are also Moshe. And when we had our conversation, one of the things that struck me about you was how humble and modest you are, as your father spoke about this afternoon. You have that real important quality that not many people have, to know what your limits are, and you were so self-effacing whenever I asked you something about yourself. You avoided talking about your talents or your gifts. But the fact of the matter is, Max, you are incredibly talented, incredibly gifted, and you have so much to offer the world. When I asked you about what you like to do in your spare time, you talked about world building. Now, I have to say, you are the very first human being who has ever told me that that is what they enjoy doing in their spare time, is world building. And the thing about world building is it's one of the closest things you can do to imitate God, right? Because God, we're taught, created our world. So my hope and prayer for you, Moshe, is that you use your incredible mind, heart, and talent to be God's partner in building this world and making this world the best world that we could live in, the world of our dreams. And you have the ingenuity, the creativity, and the imagination to help make our world a beautiful place. So now I get to bless you in the words of our ancients. I'm going to ask you to put your mask back on if we can find it. And that's so I can put my hands on your shoulders. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yikunecha. May the light of God's face shine on you and shine through you and always be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always be with you, and may you feel that presence. And may God grant you a lifetime of good health, of love, of joy, and of wholeness and peace. And may you, Max, be among those to bring that shalom, that wholeness, healing, and peace to our world. And let us all say, Amen and Mazel Tov. So you have these pieces of sweetness in your hand, and he has showered sweetness on all of you this whole afternoon. So now is your turn as soon as I get out of the way. Go ahead.
Simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov, Yelanu. Simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov, a mazel tov, a simmin tov,
Invite everybody to please rise as we face Jerusalem, open the ark, and pray the words of Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula li'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adamah. Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'goraleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh Barechu v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu
to stay standing as we approach the words of Kaddish, when we remember all those who we have loved and lost, but who remain with us eternally in our souls. And at this moment, the family is remembering some very special people whose names I'll recite. Max and Lottie Hine, Walter and Lottie Grunwald, Francisco and Rosalina Dominguez, and Ramon Garcia. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing, and may they feel the essence of what's transpired here today. At this moment of memory, we also think about the 6 million men, women, and children who died in the Holocaust. The over 24,000 Israeli soldiers died so that we would have a Jewish homeland. And we remember our American soldiers who have died defending our liberties. And we take them all into our hearts with our own, with whoever it is we are each remembering. And if you wish to follow along, we're back in our prayer books on page 294 for words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'yemru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the author of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved here and everywhere with God's blessing of peace. Amen. You may be seated. And now it is my great joy to welcome up Vanessa Ressler, a dear friend of Max's and a member of our board, to share some gifts and wish you a mazel tov, Max.
I won't bite, come on over. Mazels to all of you. Max, I have also had the pleasure of knowing you since you were tiny. Those big, inquisitive eyes, that ever-growing mop of curls. It has been an incredible honor. So there's nothing particularly witty that I have to say because, let's be honest with each other, you got smarter than me a long time ago. But today I represent your temple community and our board of directors. We are so proud of the young man that you are becoming. So please accept this official certificate, this Kiddush cup, and this travel Tanakh, and let them serve as additional reminders of this important moment in your life. Max, you rock. We love you. That's it. And I wish I could help you.
Ooh, sorry, Max. So I just want to say also inside the certificates, aside from the one saying that Max Grunwald had his bar mitzvah here today, there are 2 gift certificates, one to the Nifty Israel program and one to the High School in Israel program. So we hope that you will stay with us and study with us and grow with us through confirmation. And after confirmation, you have a choice of a few different Israel programs, which will deepen your Jewish roots. And we very much hope that you'll take advantage of that and go to Israel with your fellow confirmands. So now we are ready to conclude this beautiful service. And we're going to do that with a ceremony called Havdalah. Havdalah means separation. It's when we separate from Shabbat and the rest of the week. And so we do this singing a lovely little melody, and we have 3 symbols: wine, spices, and a braided candle. And for this ritual, I'm going to invite up Max's sister, who is on deck for her bat mitzvah in just a few years. and she sings beautifully too, and Max's parents, Christina and Mike, to please join us up here.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
As we conclude Shabbat and welcome in the new week, it's customary to greet each other with the words Shavua Tov, which means a good week. And I know all of us have been so elevated by this special Shabbat experience that we'll take that joy with us into this week ahead. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of may gladness reign.
That concludes our service. So mazel tov to Max and the entire Dominguez Grunwald family, and to all of you, and thank you for being here with us. Mazel tov, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.